Gregory Keene continues the story from a car parked by the curb in a quiet suburban street.
You know by now how we put pressure on Nick Barnes and how he had to cover himself with Huberman to save his own hide. You know how Huberman's men in their fishing craft have been watching our speedboat passing up and down the river, narrowing our hideout down, landing by landing. You know we've only hours left to get out of Sherry Reed's house and find a new base for our operations. Well, here's how I'm using those few hours and keeping my fingers crossed against my time running out too soon. The police think I'm Sammy Rice. I don't have to tell you that. But I think it's about time Detective Inspector Murray changed his views. So I'm waiting for him now in front of his garage. I've made my reconnaissance. I know he lives here alone. I'm hoping he arrives home alone tonight and... car coming now. Yes, that's Murray. He's driving straight into the garage. Right. Into the garage after him now.
Cup of tea, then I think I'll turn in.
Sorry to disappoint you, Inspector. No, don't move. Reach forward slowly and switch off. That's about it. Lights off at the back? Uh-huh. Now I'm going to open the rear door and get in. And if you feel anything staring at the back of your neck, it'll be the barrel of this Luger.
Sammy Rice. Where do you think this is going to get you, Sammy?
Keep looking straight ahead. And keep your voice down. Yeah. I know it's not done charging about pointing pistols at you chaps, but I want to make sure you listen. I haven't much time, and I'm gambling my own life and two others on you, so here we go. I'm going to tell you a story.
So, they are trapped at last, Felix.
If the fellows in the fishing boat aren't mistaken.
You heard what Wolf Mannix said to me on the telephone? With binoculars from across the river, they could see a girl on the terrace of a house high up on the south bank. They said it was Sherry Reed.
We'll soon know. You're going to see some action. Music? Who's here at this house now?
Stephen, he's always here. Martin Corse, Austin and Smith.
When I'm finished, take a car, get into town and pick up Holder, Cortez and Pigeon. We'll find them at the club in Gregerson Street.
Yeah.
I want them all armed. And the time now is 22 minutes to 11. 1:30 to the dot, you'll meet me at the fishing wharf at Newport. If you're there first, you'll wait in your car till I arrive. Got that?
If I don't find all of the men, I'm making for Newport or what?
Bring those three with you if you can, but be waiting at Newport from 1:30.
Yeah.
Now, out from the wharf, you'll see Mannix moored there with his boats. We'll leave Austin here with Carlotta. The rest of us will call Mannix in by signaling with the lights of one of the cars. We'll board the fishing boat and head upstream past Sherry Reed's house. We'll hug the north bank, then cross the river and drift down towards her landing without lights and without the engine.
We're making no noise. We take them by surprise.
We won't go ashore at her landing. We'll drop off one by one to the river banks to see how the land lies.
How many do we find there at the house with the girl?
Well, at least 2, possibly 3.
You are sure now, Felix, the third man was not Nicky Barnes?
Oh, Barnes would have cracked. No, his story is true. He was with Evelyn Channel last night. All right, Gusick, get moving. They are in an isolated spot. There'll be 7 between us. For the life of me, I don't see how we can miss them tonight.
1:30 at Newport. Okay, Mr. Huberman. I'm waiting for you by the wharf.
Tell the other men nothing. I'll attend to it when I join you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with them, Felix?
The girl and the other 2 men will dispose of and dump in the river. None of them will be found. You can leave it to me. But, Keene.
Yes, Keene.
Before Keene's dealt with, there's really a lot we should be told. How much he really knows about us, who he's passed it on to. No, I don't think we can afford to let Keene go so easily.
You bring him here?
Naturally.
We'll offer him hospitality as long as he cares to accept it. Oh, it will be a pleasure. He has caused us so much trouble. And when the time comes, I should like to see Carlo, the Alsatian, pay his account down in the cellar, as we permitted him to do once before. With Sammy Rice, Felix, darling.
Yes, Carlo didn't care much for Keene. Send for the men all but Austin. Stephen will drive. And follow their briefing, Carlotta. The staff work has to be good tonight.
And that, Murray, old chap, is how Bruno Kesselring, Felix Huberman, Carlotta Magnani, and the rest all come together as the Nightshade ring. Now, let's have it. Will you pay my story, or won't you?
You make it kind of hard on an ordinary cop.
You know, I'm going to take a chance on you, Murray.
What have you been doing so far?
I'm going to shove this Luger back under my arm. There. Now, let's hear from you.
I'm not sitting here believing you or not believing you. I'm talking to get things clear in my own head. If you weren't armed, I'd do my duty and arrest you, and we'd go on from there.
I have to keep on the move, Murray. I'm not being arrested.
Well, I could be put back on the beat for this, and here goes. This country is going through a sort of transition. For most of our history, there's been a slow but steady expansion, and we've been a quiet colonial society. Things are changing. Started with the war, and it's been accelerating ever since. And Sydney's at the center and focus of the change.
I was talking about the Nightshade ring.
Give me time. In the past, we've had no organized crime to cope with. We've had sensational robberies and cold-blooded murders, but there's never been a combine of criminals with force, scope, or discipline. 50 years ago, there was an enormous influx of immigration into the United States, just as we're getting it now. And with that influx came the genesis of large-scale crime. They made some bad laws, the Volstead Act and Prohibition, and the criminal elements began to thrive on them like midsummer flies. After repeal, the organized gangs looked about for a new field. They've had one ever since in extortion.
Look, Murray, I don't want to hear about the States 50 years ago. I want to hear about this country now.
I'm drawing you the parallel. Of the tens of thousands of people flocking into Australia, all but a minute fraction are the stuff new nations are made of. But those few are bringing in ideas we can never stamp out.
Such as what?
Such as the fundamental criminal conception, as ancient as the old man of the mountains and his assassins, that crime can flourish and protect itself by the unrestricted use of terror. They're able to draw on past experience, and they've the German example of the 30s to take for their methods. They need only victims. And here, ready-made, are large numbers of people making money outside the law and unable to turn to the law for protection.
Yeah, the gamblers.
Hundreds and hundreds of SB bookmakers. I want you to understand this is mostly speculation. But the vaguely nebulous outline is there. I could run you through a list of odd accidents. Accidents we think weren't accidents at all. With one or two things, I could curdle your blood.
It takes curdling.
But one after another, things have been happening. And always to the SP men. And sometimes not to the chap himself, but to one of his family.
So that's how the Nightshade gang make them pay.
What else can we suppose?
Well, I'm still looking for something bigger. This crowd killed a man in Rome and another in Singapore. Nice, neat murders by remote control.
I have to start somewhere. And suppose we're on the right track. Every known criminal in town shuts up like a clam at the mention of it. We've never had more than the occasional whisper about something called the Nightshade ring. But suppose this is just the infancy of it. If they could sow illegal gambling up tight, what's to stop them branching out? They could take their tribute from all the small shops, the dry cleaners, for instance. They could be forced to cough up their weekly tribute, or one day find all the clothes on their racks eaten away with acid. The pubs could be made to pay, nightclubs, everything that's run by individuals who think their lives are worth a few pounds a week. Then, one day when the income from extortions is so big that the gang is untouchable, well, then they really start taking charge. They buy politicians. They bribe witnesses with money and with threats. They even come after fellas like me. And there's always the odd character who'll play. Then, one day they could be behind every form of commerce in the country. An octopus so big, so powerful, and so shadowy that you'd never root them out.
Yes, based on terror, it could be done. You could build such a structure.
Unless we're both very wrong, it's in the building right now. This man of yours, Kesselring, somehow or other he's linked to it. So, the chaps who came after Kesselring have to go.
And so do I. Now.
Where to?
No, you'll see me again.
I'm going to spend the next few days checking again on what you've told me about Huberman. And if it adds, I'll want to see you again.
Don't worry, it'll add.
What do you say you are? A major. My boy was a major. The Japs got him at Finchhafen in 43. Good hunting, Keen.
So, I pulled off the hazard with Inspector Murray, but I can't stop running yet. It's 20 to 1, and this car's up to 85. I'm heading back to the river. I can see that fishing boat coming closer to Sherry Reed's landing. We're getting out of there tonight, before it's too late.
Huberman and his men are on their way to the landing. Listen for this next chapter in this story of intrigue, Deadly Nightshade.